In today's episode, we're talking about embedding video in your emails. You are listening to Entrepreneur Hour. I'm your host, CMH. Here, we give you proven business advice to grow your company, teach you what peak performers do to stay on top of their game and live a healthy and happy life, plus how you can gain and keep an edge on your market. Welcome to the show. What up, fam? Welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by Startup Books. Startup Books is my community for entrepreneurs, and it literally is what it sounds like. We actually read a book a month, and we provide resources, coaching, insights, implementation kits, book notes, reading plans, you name it, all surrounding every single book and what we call book modules. So every single month, you get access to a new set of resources. We probably have hundreds of hours worth of resources inside of that community right now as we speak, and it grows every single month. So I'd love to invite you guys to check it out. The link is included in the show notes to browse over, check that out, see if it's for you, see if it's a good fit. And the good thing is you get 14 days for free to try it out. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. You still get the resources. You still get everything you're going to get access to while you're there. I can't take knowledge back out of your brain. Have not figured out how to do that yet. So whatever you learn in 14 days is yours to keep, but I'm confident that you will want to stay. All right, in today's episode, we're talking to Ethan Beute. I've been using this tool for some time, and I had a need because there were sometimes I wanted to communicate a message to whether it was a podcast guest or whether it was a client or whether it was an investor or something in a sales capacity. I just wanted to send something more personal that stood out over just a text email, right? And so I have an awesome setup and I can take really high quality video, and I said, there's got to be a way I can take advantage of that and just send quick little notes with video. Problem is that some tools require you to just hyperlink it. And a lot of people, they're skeptical about clicking on links, whether they trust you or not. They might, say, I don't know, that link might have been compromised in some way, right? So it's a big challenge a lot of people have, but they want to capitalize on video. So this tool, BombBomb, that I've been using for some time, it actually allows you to embed the video, and it'll tell the guest, or whoever the recipient is, it'll tell them exactly how long that video is, which is even better. So if it is a sales capacity or it is something you're trying to gather someone's attention, they know exactly how long it's going to be. So before they just click on it and then realize it's a 20, 30-minute video that you drop for them. So a really, really effective tool. We're actually going to talk about today the significance of embedding email, or video rather, in your email, and when you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, when it's appropriate, maybe to give you some ideas. Maybe you're thinking about doing it. I've seen several people on YouTube that were searching for whether to use it in a real estate capacity. I can see that being beneficial. I mentioned myself with outbound podcast requests. That's been an effective way for me. So whatever your business looks like, it may be effective. I would think that anything that's cold call related, if that's what you do in your business, or if it's customer relation related, then I would think it would be something you want to look into. It might be well worth the price of admission on that. But not to sell it, right? We're here to talk about the importance and the significance of embedding and using video, kind of from a macro perspective, not just about the tool itself. And some of the things that Ethan has seen using. He's an analytics guy, so using this tool specifically, or analyzing how this tool is performed, just kind of what he's seen. So I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of that. Before you guys jump into the episode, don't forget to follow me on social media at HeyCMH. That's at HeyCMH. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and please leave us a 5-star review. Do me a big favor. It's a huge help if you do it. If you've been listening to this show for a while, or you like what you've heard so far, leave us a 5-star review and let us know what you think. You don't have to say anything. You can just literally hit 5-star review. That's enough to tell us that we're doing a good job. All right, guys, welcome to this discussion with Ethan. I will see you on the flip side.
Please hold for a very important message.
What up, fam? Welcome back to Entrepreneur Hour Podcast and Entrepreneur Hour TV. Awesome guest dropping by to talk to us today, and I think a really timely conversation, one that I think we need to adapt and embrace and understand the ways that the world has changed after the pandemic, right? And during the pandemic, and creating and making business more personalized in now what has become even more an ever-growing digital landscape. So my guest today is what we're going to talk about. We have a lot of really cool and interesting tools we're going to talk about, as well as his book, and kind of delving into a lot of the specifics as it relates to that. So if you're interested in that, hang around because we got a good one for you. Ethan Beute, Chief Evangelist for BombBomb. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I told you, as soon as I saw this one pop up, my team, kind of reviews all the guests that we could look at to come on the show and this and that. As soon as I saw BombBomb, I was like, done. That's a great tool. So I was introduced to it. Shout out to my buddy Mike Michalowicz, introduced me to it. I'd been wanting to do it for a long time, Ethan. I'd been like, man, there's got to be a way, specifically, when I've had some of the bigger guests that have come on my show, to just express. I know it's, not that it's a difficult thing for anybody to come on my show, but with the volume of requests that they get on a daily basis, Damon John barely shows up anywhere. So the fact that he showed up for me, you want to send something, right? But you also kind of know that sending them a link that maybe they have to click in an email, like they might not be willing to do that. So I loved BombBomb the minute I saw it. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. So it's an amazing tool. We're going to talk about that specifically. But I also want to give you the opportunity to talk about who you are and the work that you do. So give us that high level view, elevator pitch of just that.
Sure. I did not design to be at BombBomb and to serve in a chief evangelist role, which we may get into. Like, what does that actually mean? I've been at the company 9 years full time, coming up here in a couple months, which is just absolutely insane. It's twice as long as I've been anywhere and 3 times longer than my average, I guess, in general. So I just met the 2 co-founders a couple of years ago, or a couple of years before I joined them full time, rather, about 10 or 12 years ago, and just really liked what they were up to. And so I left what at that time was a 12-year career in local television. So I was running marketing inside local TV stations like your local ABC or Fox or NBC station. And I had done that again for quite a while in 3 different cities and was just kind of bored of it. And so I guess something that might be fun and interesting just to wrap this part up is, when I was done with that part of my career, like I knew when I took the job that brought me out to Colorado Springs to work at the NBC station here, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm done in this business. I'm not that interested in it anymore. It's highly cyclical. It's not a very smart product and it continues to devolve every year. And so I just started doing project work with a bunch of people that I had met working on my MBA and some other things. And so doing that side work while I was still employed full-time allowed me to kind of explore what will people pay me for, what is fun to do, what do I actually like doing, and these kinds of things. And so I ended up doing some project work with the guys from BombBomb, Darren and Connor, our 2 co-founders. I was doing like initial email campaigns, landing pages, obviously making videos. I was very comfortable doing that. And at a certain point, they're like, hey man, we don't know when, but we'll give you an offer. And it wasn't a very competitive offer to what I was making at the time, but it was enough to make the leap. And my wife was supportive. And so it's been fun. I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. As I said, I'm out here in Colorado Springs. I've been out here for a dozen years, lived for several years in Chicago, which I think is one of the best cities in America.
I would agree.
It's a pleasure to do what I'm doing now.
Depending on what time of the year you ask me about Chicago, though. You ask me in December, I might end up think it's the best in the world. You ask me.
I'll tell you, the last 2 times I was there was in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, the summer. Oh, I've spent many July 4ths in Chicago when they do the fireworks. That's just incredible. It's such a cool city. So for those, I think I kind of teased it a little bit, but for those that don't know exactly what BombBomb is, can you kind of get into the nuances of that specifically so they know what heck we're talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. So our whole goal is to get you face to face with more people more often. We know that you are better in person. And yet when you think about it, every day you're clicking send or machines are shooting messages out on your behalf. And it's almost always faceless digital communication, plain typed out text, which misses all of the things that make you you. Yeah. Enthusiasm, sincerity, gratitude, energy, expertise, all these elements are kind of stripped out when you kind of like get super, super conscious and intentional in your head. You're highly intellectual about it. You peck the message out on your keyboard. You hope that you captured it well enough, when instead we have the bandwidth and connectivity. We have these, HD cameras in our laptops and our smartphones. So replace some of your typed out text with simple, casual, conversational videos that allow you to communicate more clearly and connect with people more effectively. Ultimately, as a consequence, you get more yeses. I call that conversion, but not necessarily a sales and marketing funnel conversion, just like people saying yes. Yes, I'll fill out that survey. Yes, I'll return your phone call. Yes, I'll make that personal introduction, right? Like all those micro yeses we need to be successful. And so what we've built is a platform. You can record and send videos from your iPhone or Android, from your Gmail inbox, from the Google Chrome browser, from our own web app, from a bunch of integrated platforms and systems, including things like Salesforce and Outreach and Zendesk and a bunch of other ones.
Cool. Yeah. And so just because I alluded to it, I just want to make sure people are clear about how I was using it, because there are people that listen to the show that do have podcast guests and what have you. So what I meant by the way I was using it, reaching out to the, bigger guests that were coming on my show, is I was just thanking them, right? And wanting to, I think a lot of people don't understand, and maybe this is something that kind of helps them. But for me, and we're going to talk about this because your book kind of revolves around this, is like, you want to make not just a transactional relationship, right? If you come on my show and I provide you a platform, and that's the end of that tenured relationship, right? That we both go on our separate ways and we never touch base again. You and I were talking before we started recording about just that, about like actually building relationships and trying to keep up with people and having, and I think one of the things is like, you have that personal touch with video. When you drop somebody a video, somebody did that to me on the cesspool of LinkedIn messaging, right? It's just, oh my gosh. I know it's effective for some people, but it gets really a little bit tiresome having to go through all of those, right? But somebody left me to prove, I think, what we're talking about here. Somebody left me just a quick, like 15-second video and referred to me in person. I knew it wasn't, just a canned template they were sending out, but it was like truly, hey, Chris, I looked up your company and what you're doing with your podcast. So like, I knew they actually took some time to research me, and I responded. And I never respond to LinkedIn messages. So I think it gives you that a little bit of an advantage. It builds the relationship. It creates a personal touch. And for me, it was, I want these big guests to remember me, because there might be a time when I want to do something down the road, whether it's I'm writing a book and, hey, I want them to be involved in some capacity, to write a forward, whatever it looks like. It's the time you don't know. But I think it just gives you that access to start building that relationship. So talk about, I guess, the importance, or maybe I think sometimes, Ethan, we think about everything through our own lens, not through the lens of the receiver, right? And in that sense, it's like, well, I'm sending all these emails and I'm not getting a response. It's like, maybe you're not thinking strategically enough. Maybe you're not thinking of what can I do to rise above the crowd of saturation. So what have you guys found, I guess, or what have you studied specifically as you've done a lot of work in this, and obviously your book revolves around this. What's some of the stuff that you've done that kind of highlights the importance or the significance of doing just that?
Yeah, I mean, you really teed up a lot of different directions I could go there. First, I want to to your podcast guest communication piece and this idea of staying in front of people over time so that you don't just reach out when you need a favor performed, right? Like, right. You're actually expressing interest. A couple things going on here. So for people that are still trying to kind of understand the concept, it's kind of like a modern day handwritten note, right? You do a handwritten note, and I'm not talking about the ones that fake the handwriting notes like that. Just like, it's so violates the spirit of the handwritten note to fake a handwritten note. Cool. You picked your template. Awesome. Hey, you picked your handwriting, or even submit. Cool. Like, the whole goal of the handwritten note is to do a couple things. One, I made this just for you, right? Just like you said about that video where someone greeted you by name and spoke about something very specific about your podcast. I made this just for you. So that gesture alone says, I'm thinking about you. I am investing my time and energy in you. And that's super meaningful. The other thing is that through your handwriting, you're putting your personality on the page, right? And so you and I, Chris, could record the exact same video message for the exact same person and say the exact same words, but it's going to feel so much different. Just like if you and I wrote the exact same handwritten note. I don't know how good your handwriting is.
Terrible.
But, mine would be like, it'd be a fight to be able to figure out what I'm trying to say.
No, they think a kindergartner wrote, so they throw it away immediately if I wrote it.
Correct. And so in this, I mean, you called the LinkedIn messaging inbox like a cesspool, or I think that was the word you used. And it is. And why is it that way? It's that way because of bots, spam, automation, copy paste, like these. And here's the essence of it. So many people and so many companies and so many systems and so many processes treat people as numbers.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, your long-term success, your integrity, your legacy, the things people say about you when you're not in the room, is all about how you make people feel. And so when you can find these moments whether it's reaching out to a customer to congratulate them on a milestone, or in your case, thanking someone for investing in you in the podcast by spending their time with you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, man. When you told me X, Y, and Z, it really lit me up. I'm going to be thinking about that all weekend, man. That was the highlight of my week. I so appreciate you spending 45 minutes with me, right? It's meaningful because it's truly personal. All of the rich human emotions. Again, I already listed a couple of them, like enthusiasm and gratitude and sincerity. Like, you cannot fake that sincerity because humans have been communicating face to face for millennia.
Yeah.
And so this discrepancy between our facial expressions and our body language and the words that we're saying, we pick up on it, even if it's on a subconscious level. And so that sincerity, when you really mean what you say and you look someone in the eye through the camera lens, like that is a meaningful thing. And you make someone feel seen and heard and appreciated. And that is the deepest human need of all.
You know, it's funny, man. Kind of tying a lot of things together here. I just read about, I think it was in Never Split the Difference. I'm almost positive it was, but I read a lot. So it could be for something I've read recently. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But it talked about the 7-38-55 rule, which is effectively, and I'm gonna make sure I get this correctly, or at least not verbatim, but somewhere in the right ballpark, right? 7%. So it was basically determining the percentages of what people make a determination about whether they like you or not, right? And so you could argue and say, okay, what does that actually mean? Is that subjective? Like, what does like actually mean, right? Because that can mean one thing to somebody else and one thing is to an entirely different person, right? So let's just, for the sake of this argument, let's just say that we have some way to validate that it is a control, right? So basically 7% is what you say, right? Like just at face value, what you say determines whether someone likes you or not. 38 is how you say it, right? So if you have a lot of charisma or if you say it with a lot of energy, you know, on top of the actual context of what you said.
Yep. Voice and tone.
55% is literally how you present yourself, how you look, presentation, right? Visual presentation, right? And people say that actions speak louder than words, and, you know, all these various ways that we've kind of like whittled that down to say effectively the same message. But man, you talk about the importance of that and the significance of that. You could sit there all day long, like you mentioned, right? And type up the most brilliant email or the most brilliant message. You're not taking advantage of just fundamentally who we are as human beings, right?
And the way we connect and communicate most
Correct.
effectively. So you think about, okay, I need to present a little bit of an argument and make a call to action to someone, team member, potential business partner, customer, prospective customer, whatever, right? So again, you get in your own head, you think about what you need to communicate. If you're doing a good job, you're thinking about what's in it for the other person. Like, why would they respond? Why would they open this? Is this clear? But that's potentially an advanced strategy. My point here is that you go and you type this email out. There's some research in Rehumanize about that we overestimate our ability to communicate clearly in email, which we do because we've all been in that back and forth exchange where they're like misunderstandings and you put in the smiley face because you wanted to make it clear you were joking, but the other person thought it was passive aggressive.
They think you're being a smart ass.
So you do all this, and we also have a lot of anxiety about, you know, copy, paste, move the words around. Did we say it? Blah, blah, blah. So all of that work is in that 7% that you described. It's the exact words that we're saying. And we all know from being in conversations, from being in meetings, from watching TED Talks, from being on a TED stage or a TEDx stage, all these things, we know that so much of the meaning of the message and the way that it's received, right? Because that's the whole purpose of communication, is to have someone receive your message in the way that you intended in order to inform you or move you to action or entertain you or whatever the purpose is. And so you're stuck there with that 7% of the exact words. And that's what we're fussing over here and leaving all the rest of it on the table. And it's a huge missed opportunity. And so my vision for this is that people will go to record a video in the course of their day-to-day work, just like they might pick up the phone or jump on a Zoom call or have a lunch meeting or all these. We don't even think about this stuff anymore. You don't think about typing up emails and sending them. It's just part of what we do. And so that's my vision for this because of some of the things we've already talked about.
Now, do you think, so we talked about, you know, talking about the 55% is just literally, you know, the way you present yourself,
body language,
the way you look, right, visually. But here's the deal. That doesn't guarantee, that's just 55% in terms of influence. It doesn't say 55% in terms of positive, right? Positive reception. That could be the determining factor to say no, right? So here's my question to you then. Do you think that it is always a positive to do some form of video if at all possible? Or do you think that you lose a little bit, maybe not enough, right? Pro con it, maybe not enough to offset the preparation, diligence maybe comes to mind of a well thought out and well crafted email versus a video where you're kind of maybe nervous because a lot of people don't like to be on camera. Maybe you aren't well put together. Maybe you just kind of are in your whatever, right? Just not dressed appropriately or not whatever. Like, I mean, that's kind of an obvious one.
Yeah.
But do you think that you lose a little bit, or maybe you're not, again, let's focus on the not being comfortable on camera one, that you're just not accustomed to doing it. And so I think a lot of people, that's the big thing. They kind of maybe understand the benefit of it, but they're like, I really just don't do good on camera. I don't communicate well because I'm not as skilled, or haven't done it as much as what I've done just sending texts and emails and stuff like that. So it's just a level of comfort thing.
Yep. So this is going to be the practical section of the cover. Hopefully I'll give you more of them, but this is going to be very, very practical. So if you're listening, you're like, okay, what does this look like in practice? Here's some very practical recommendations. That was a fantastic question. First, video is not appropriate for every single message.
Yes.
Right. There's something like, I don't need you to hide the fact that you're still good for 4 o'clock today behind an 8-second video,
Yeah, it's kind of a
for example, right? So you don't need it for everything. You
Right.
don't want to use it all the time either. Let's say you're building a relationship with a prospective customer. You use a video in your first 1 or 2 or 3 touches to kind of put a face with the name so that when they get the voicemail or they see the email, it's not just this faceless email signature. They're like, oh, that's that dude that sent me that video on LinkedIn, or the dude that sent me that video and email yesterday, right? So you like, but you don't send 5 videos in a row. So you do have to pick your spots. You do want to mix it up. And like I said before, this doesn't replace everything. This is just part of the mix. So you're going to do some phone calls. You're going to do some Zoom calls. When we can, again, we'll get together in person over coffee or lunch or across the conference room table or whatever the case may be. We're going to have some email exchanges, depending on the nature of the business and how intimate we get. Maybe we're texting each other, right? Because that's more of a friends and family zone than a just general business zone. But some people cross over into there. So you need to pick your spots. It's part of the mix, not everything. And you hit on the most important thing. People who hear a conversation like this and they hear you and the success you've had with it say, okay, I'm going to go do this. And then they, whether they're using BombBomb or something else, there are a lot more players in the space than there were even 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. It validates the concept and starts to normalize and create some best practices, and more people can learn and teach each other. But you're going to get in front of the camera and you're going to hit record and you're going to say something like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. I'm not sure if I said that the right way, and all these other things. A couple things here. One, and you already said it, it's all about practice. If you say, gosh, I am better in person. If you say, my sales process drives to a face-to-face meeting, whether that is, again, by a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams or however you're getting face-to-face digitally, in synchronous, in real time, right?
Yeah.
Like Thursday at 1 o'clock, we're going to get together and I'm going to ask you some questions and we're going to talk about this thing, right? Because you express some interest in my product or service or whatever. If you're driving to a face-to-face meeting, I do not think it can ever be really a negative unless you're totally unprepared. And, you know, I can see an exercise bike from 1978 behind you, as well as a basket of dirty laundry. Like, that's obviously not a good look, right? But assuming we set all those things on the side, if you're driving to a face-to-face meeting and someone is going to make judgments about you based on your voice, which is an octave higher than maybe it seems like it should be, or the way you wear your hair, or your penchant for a certain type of clothing that they're not going to resonate with, or they want to make any judgments about you based on the way you look and sound, I would so much rather have that happen in the first 3 touches than 2 weeks later after we've gone back and forth and I've invested time and energy and they're going to make those same superficial judgments. So last thing here, practice is the key. This is not unlike anything else you want to be good at. If you are blogging now, if you've been writing a blog and it's been successful for you, it helps you organize your thoughts and generate traffic to your website. You've got some good calls to action there and it's productive for you. If you started that 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, your first foray into that format probably wasn't great. Just like when you picked up a book of Spanish, you couldn't just speak Spanish right away. Just like when you watched that Warren Miller film, you didn't go out and shoot down a triple black diamond like expertly. Like all of these things, anything you want to be basically good at, whether it's in business or in your personal life, whether it's a hobby or an activity or anything else, requires a little bit of practice. This is the same thing. Some of the skills you already have are transferable. You are going to have to develop some new skills. And my last recommendation here is the best way to get comfortable is to start within your own close network, whether that's family and friends or family and friends, former coworkers, former classmates, people you know and who know you. And you're reaching out with simple messages like, thank you, or good job or congratulations, or you're scrolling LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You're like, hey, I just noticed that blah, blah, blah. I want to tell you that's super friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Here's why. And gosh, I can't believe it. Or I saw that picture of Jennifer. I can't believe how big she got. I remember when she was just, crawling around on the carpet.
Yeah. I'm smiling over here, and I'm laughing internally because you said that. And it's funny because I remember the first one that I did, the first, BombBomb video that I sent. And I don't even think I sent it with BombBomb. It was before I interviewed Mike and he told me about BombBomb. So I was just recording it, I think, with Screencast-O-Matic and then uploading a link that they could, whatever. Anyways, bottom line, it's the first video email that I sent to a guest, right, that had come on the show. We had this hour-long conversation. It was Dave Asprey, the founder of Bulletproof.
Sick.
And I had just talked to him for an hour, right? And then here I go. And this is before I was doing video interviews like we're doing right now, right? I just launched the YouTube channel. So it's not even a year old, but I'm doing the podcast for 5 years. So I got really comfortable, and people just assume that I'm telling the story because I want people to know that it's okay to have to grow and learn and acquire a new skill. But super comfortable, no problem. Like audio, I just got really comfortable with it. And then I want to send him one of those thank you videos that I told you about. And I swear to you, Ethan, I recorded that damn thing 8 times, and I was stumbling over my words. I was all over the place. It was too long. I'm like, I just talked to this guy for an hour. How am I struggling to create a 2-minute video just thanking him for coming on my show? All I have to do is say, hey man, thank you, enjoyed it. Talk to you next time. That's it. And I swear, recorded it 8 times. So even the people that you feel just it comes naturally, it doesn't come naturally at all. Like it is 100% a skill. I'm definitely more of a growth mindset person, right? I think it's an amazing book. Carol Dweck's book about mindset is fantastic because you do realize that it's just like we have these really false narratives and constructs about people are just good at things because they're just good at them. And I'm sure there's, to a degree, that's not inaccurate, right? I'm sure Michael Jordan I'm not 6'7", right? So like he has an advantage of being the best basketball player to ever play the game on that alone, right? But still, like I could acquire the skills to still be good at whatever areas and excel in other areas. And I think people will just assume, well, I'm not a talkative person, I'm not an extrovert, so I wouldn't be good at doing video. And it's like,
dude,
it's just like anything else, you put the practice in.
I love it. I'm gonna lean on that growth mindset piece, but I want to pick up right there, which is this idea that I am not a video person, right?
Yeah.
So you might not be the kind of person who is ripe to host a YouTube show. Right. You might not be the kind of person who is going to do, these mass anonymous viewed videos on a social network, YouTube or otherwise, right? But this is not about that. This is about you communicating with the 3 people you're working on that project with.
Correct.
Or this is about you closing that loop with accounting because it was really complicated. And instead of typing it all out, you could just talk to accounting, right? And so if you've had any level of success in your life, you are relatable. Yes. So the line I'm going to draw here is dynamic or relatable. To be successful in video, you either need to be dynamic, which is someone like you who hosts a show and is comfortable and, is spontaneous with questions, is a good listener. You got this confidence about it because you've done it a bunch of times. I'm sure your shows, your video interviews now are better than when you first started. And I'm sure your interviews when you started doing the video interviews are better than when you first started doing the audio interviews because of practice. But So dynamic, right? Comfortable hosting a show and building an audience and being a face to go with the name and all of that versus relatable. This style of video is appropriate for relatable. And so to button this up, 2 phrases that you might use, you can pick, these are almost basically the same thing. So you can pick whichever one you prefer. You're going to try to record a video and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to judge yourself far more harshly than anyone else will because you're in your own head. You think it's about you, but it's not about you. It's about how you make the other person feel. So if you come with some sincerity and appreciation, people will respond favorably to you. And so when you try your first one and it takes you 4 takes or 8 takes or whatever, first of all, stop at like 3 and just call it and send it. Because again, it's not about the exact words that you say. It's about how you say them. So if you say them in a way that you actually mean them, then it's good enough and you can send it. So if you feel like I'm not the kind of person to send video messages, I'm not the kind of person who sends video messages yet.
Yes.
I'm 3 more videos away from being that person, or 5 more videos, or whatever it is. Or the other phrase that I've heard. So you just add yet to the end of anything. The other way to do it is to put it at the front and say, up until now, I wasn't the kind of person who was comfortable sending a video of myself to a team member or to a past client or to a friend of mine. Up until now, I wasn't that person, but I'm in this growth transformation. I'm 8 videos away from being much more comfortable. And I got it, last thing, when you get to the other side of that discomfort piece, and you're on the other side and you're out of your own head and now you're just talking to people, it is so liberating. You're going to save a mountain of time. That's just a practical thing. You're going to get more replies and responses. That's just a practical thing. But this ability to be yourself and to communicate as yourself, especially if it's positive, supportive, encouraging, if you're coaching or developing team members and you're providing something corrective, you get to be yourself. It is an absolute pleasure. It's totally liberating. And it's a very, very healthy habit, especially the expression of gratitude with your whole body, not just your brain.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You say, you talk about relatability, and I think that's absolutely spot on. I want to highlight that for a second. One of the things I think that we've all felt, specifically in a business capacity, and if you're pitching somebody for an in-person meeting, right? So this might eliminate some people, but I think you will probably find yourself in a position like this at some point in time in your life or another. If it's not your current season, then just hang with us, because I assure you it will happen at some point. But you know this as well as I know this. When you've gone back and forth, and let's say you reached out and you're trying to get a coffee meeting with a potential prospect, right? And you say, yeah, that's great, I'm going to be able to listen time, whatever. And you could have an email thread that's 20 emails long. The minute you meet them in person, it's like you're starting all over again, just because there's something fundamentally different about going from one modality to another modality. Do you think that having the video beforehand, if you send a video intro, do you think that helps you kind of transition into kind of bridging the gap between those two very different dynamics?
Dude, that is a great question. And what I will share with you is anecdotal, but the answer is 1,000% yes. I can't tell you how many times, I used to go to all of our conferences and trade shows. We're very good in that environment. Our team, we believe in what we're doing. And so we're really able to on a trade show floor in an expo setting, we're just great at connecting with people and talking with them, diagnosing their situation and kind of walking them into this opportunity. Yeah. So I used to go to a ton of trade shows, especially when we were a much smaller company and we didn't have as many specialized roles. And I can't tell you, how many customers I got to know, which is just an absolute gift to know people in person when you're, operating at scale. But how many times people have completely unsolicited said, people feel like they know me before they meet me.
Yes.
That is a super powerful dynamic. And the benefit of it is you get to skip past all of the, what I call how's the weather questions. Yeah. Right. So in this valuable, again, our synchronous time is super valuable. If you and I are going to schedule a 30-minute meeting, I can't come and have 10 minutes of a data dump. I could have done that before. I could have organized the information and shared it with you at my convenience. And you could have digested the information before the meeting so that when we get to the meeting, we're actually doing something productive. We're co-creating whatever it is, whether we're advancing an opportunity or doing some analysis or brainstorming or whatever it is, internal or external. You said a prospective client, so let's stay there. So this idea of not having to go through all the kind of the pleasantries to try to warm up the conversation and get a little momentum and get comfortable with each other. And now people greet you like they know you. There's a story I tell in the book of one of our customers who's, he's a real estate agent up in the Vancouver area. And he got an email from this family and they signed it with 5 names. It was Ryan, Amy, Oliver, and Violet. So they say hey, we're thinking about selling our home. A friend of ours gave us your name. Would you be willing to talk about that? And they signed it with 4 names. So he sends a quick 20-second video back. Hey, Ryan, Amy, Oliver, and Violet, it's Michael. I just wanted to say thank you so much for reaching out. I would love to connect with you. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. works for me. Let me know if that works for you. So it did work for them. And he shows up at their house the next evening, realizes the video's been played 12 times. And he's like, that's kind of an interesting thing. I only sent it to 1 email address and there were only 4 names on it. And, knocks on the door, right? So this is an interesting dynamic too. I know that COVID kind of messes some of this dynamic up, but if you're in a business where you have reps that are going to people's houses, right? They're intimate space and people are more protective than ever. We got freaking cameras everywhere. You ring the doorbell and I have a picture of you now and I'm watching you live on video on my smartphone, even though I'm not at my house. Like people are like super defensive of their homes now, even in very, very safe neighborhoods. In fact, it probably over skews in safe neighborhoods, but I digress. So he knocks on the door, they swing the door open, and this 5-year-old kid opens the door and greets him, Michael, Michael, Michael. And it's because he introduced himself through video. Now there is a bonus layer there in that he was referred from someone that they knew, but how many adults are going to let their 5-year-old kid open the front door to a stranger? And it turns out that the reason that they watched the video 12 times is that the little kid, Ryan, Amy, Oliver must be, Oliver wanted to watch the video over and over and over again while he was going to bed, just because he said his name. He just thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah.
Because he just thought it was cool that somebody on video
and so they watched this video over and over and over again. And so it's just like, feel like I know you before I meet you. I am now comfortable welcoming someone I have met into my own home and letting my 5-year-old kid do it. It's awesome.
You know, man, that is so, we hear this all the time and we've experienced, I know, again, anecdotal, but when we made a decision to start doing more video, right? The podcast did tremendously well and we had a lot of downloads, but something inherently changed when we started doing video, whether that was short videos for Instagram or Facebook or what have you. But all of a sudden people just were reaching out, like they were making a connection with me like they hadn't done so before. I'm like, I've done 150 episodes. Where have you been like until now? But people just make a different connection, not dissimilar to what you're saying. Now, let me ask you this though. I have been in situations where it presents maybe a little bit of an unnecessary, I'm trying to think of the right word, but for lack of a better term, pressure. And what do I mean by that is that when let's say I'm texting and I text you, Ethan, and I say, hey man, what's going on? And you send me a voice note in response, right? This is going to go back into what you said, like timely manner by which you send video, not just sending video all the time. You send back an audio note. Sometimes I will feel an internal conflict to respond. Like, it's like a question of, okay, are we switching? Like, am I doing audio now? Am I doing a voice note too? Or am I going to text you back? It almost feels like there's some friction. There's some discomfort there around me texting back. Like I am not meeting you at that level of expectation that you now have implied that you expect out of me. Have you seen that happen with video, where if you send a video intro, that people feel a bit of an internal conflict about what they send back and reciprocate?
Yeah, I can't say that I've heard that reported back. Typically, it's more often things like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that before. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you took the time to do that for me. I haven't heard that. That doesn't mean that people don't feel that, but I think, I love the nuance, by the way. I love the way you broke that down because I've experienced the same thing myself.
Right? It's so uncomfortable.
Is it okay if I just go ahead and type it back? Because that's what I want to do. Or don't make me Bitmoji you. And so, because I can capture that in one image. The interesting thing there is that we all text regularly. Whereas this is still, as many years as we've been at it and as many competitors have come into the space since then, this is still so early that some of these norms haven't been set yet. One thing we do is that in most environments, when someone is watching your video, there is a reply with video button so they can reply back to you with video, even though they're not a BombBomb customer. So that video comes back to you through your own BombBomb account. By the way, it's a great way to collect customer success stories and customer testimonials. Because it just loads straight into your BombBomb account. Hey, just hit that reply with video button down below and tell me the experience of what it was like to work with me and my team, right? So, I don't think that from a cultural standpoint, from a normative standpoint, I don't think we've reached the point where people are in their own heads. We're still super interesting. And I want to double back on your observation about moving to video more generally, like when you started doing social media videos and stuff. We will get to that point, I hope, if my vision for this is realized, and it will become that normal and we will see it more often, and it'll break out of this novelty phase. But for folks who are listening that think this is a compelling idea, this is a great time to experiment, learn, and grow, because if there are as many people coming behind you starting today, people coming behind you over the next 36 to 48 months, as I would hope and expect, because it makes so much sense, you're going to be in a much better position because you will be more familiar with the tools and technology. You'll be more comfortable with yourself. I'm sure this shot that I'm looking at right now, Chris, is not the exact same shot as when you started recording your interviews. You've probably made some tweaks to it.
No. Yeah.
What's that?
I said, absolutely not.
Right.
It has made several iterations and
correct. And so that's the journey that you're on. So how do I get in and out of my videos more effectively? What do I do? So for example, one of the things we do is take the first 3 seconds of your video and automatically loop it as a little GIF. So it looks more like a video and it says, play 47-second video on it. Right. And so there are things you can do in the first 3 seconds. And so you just all these little nuances to become more comfortable and more effective. You have this head start on everybody else because, again, I think because this is better communication and better human connection, because this is supported by all the technology that we have available, because it does save time, because it does help people say yes, right? You're helping people say yes. You're not making people say yes by using this different medium and using mind trickery and all these other things. Maybe there's some of that in play, but it's not magic. It's just you being you and getting more people to feel connected and compelled by your message and by who you are and the opportunity that you're presenting. And so I think there are millions of people coming behind you. And so if you start today, you're in an advantaged position. And the last thing is this idea, because, a lot of people might look at someone like people that listen to the podcast might go, watch the video and say, gosh, that guy's just really got it going on. You've been at this for years. It's practice. Some people might receive you as a celebrity of sorts, but it's a really interesting dynamic that we're in right now where anyone can have some of the trappings of celebrity, but celebrity comes with all this baggage. The word does, right? This isn't about being someone besides yourself. This isn't about acting. This isn't about hiring makeup artists before you do an interview with me. This isn't about any of this nonsense. This is about you being you as yourself and being accepted and celebrated for who you are, for the value you can provide, for the stories that you can tell, for the questions that you can ask, for being yourself. And it's just this era that we're in is so liberating if you can just get out of your own head and stop feeling like I'm not good enough. I don't know what to say. That's for other people. It's not for me. Like this is, it's the opportunity, like, I'm just obviously super compelled about this. And it's like, I wish more people could be comfortable in their own skins because we'd be so much happier as a population.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that, man, because we've actually seen that. And I've actually read studies that have talked about this. Kids today, they now view YouTube influencers, right? For lack of a better term, I hate that term, but for lack of a better term, let's just call them influencers.
But we all know what you say when you say it, so it's good communication. I know
YouTube celebrities, right? But they see them through the same vein, if not higher status than movie stars at this point, right? They grew up and they're like, no, this person's on YouTube. Before it was, these people are on TV, right? And then, okay, that's cute. They have a little YouTube channel. But that's really is changing, right? The perception is that, and we've experienced that too. Not to keep, referring it back to our own examples, but there are many that you keep reminding me of. But there's been many times, my wife has been on YouTube for like 7-8 years, and she's got over 50,000 subscribers, which, it's still a relatively small, not a huge channel, but big enough to garner respect, right? But we've gone places and people will they subscribe to her channel. They act like Oprah walked in the door when she walks in because they're like, oh my God, it's Kim Jimenez. Like they just freak out. So it's unbelievable. I think the thing is we've been so conditioned to when we see somebody on our screen, that's like just this different, like we can't make that degree cognitively of separation between this is a person on my TV and that means that they're somehow special, different, whatever. And we make these weird associations that I think the brain can't fully compute. And then to see them in person, it just changes things, but puts you in a completely different light that otherwise wouldn't happen. It's just an interesting psychological breakdown.
Yeah. And I don't know, this is the interesting thing. I don't know that it's about like perceived celebrity necessarily. Certainly some of, let's say your wife's viewers have a personality type that would definitely put her on a pedestal.
Sure.
But there are other personality types in her audience that are like, oh my gosh, I know her and I've never
Right,
met
right.
her, right? There's that dynamic at play too. So again, just going back to trade shows, because I was the first person in marketing and the only person in marketing at BombBomb for a few years,
Mm,
I did a ton of videos. I did all of our video newsletters, which I did twice a month. I did a bunch of our kind of onboarding training videos and things. And so
mm.
I was familiar to people. I never built really an online following per se. But when I would go to a trade show, I would be in an elevator going up to my room. And so I was like, hey, you're the
You're the
BombBomb guy,
BombBomb guy, yeah.
or hey, Ethan, or, that kind of a thing. Or like, you just get greeted differently. Like, so
That's cool.
the interesting dynamic here for people is, we're no longer in this mass world. Like if you can grow a 50,000 follower channel to 1 million and monetize it more, that's cool. But that's like, you can thrive in a 50,000 follower environment, or you can thrive in a 50 follower environment. Like this is a micro world, and it's not about being the biggest and the best. This is about getting into what really brings you alive, whether it's your professional work, which fortunately I have this blend of what I'm interested in is what I get to spend my professional time working on. And it breeds a lot of this. But for other people, like a good friend of mine, he's worked in healthcare administration for years, but he's a landscape photographer. And at a certain point, he decided to, light up social channels and create conversations around his work. And then he did a podcast, and now he's inviting on truly the best landscape photographers in the world. And he knows them all. That he built his own personal network of these people, not because he had a $100,000 marketing budget, not because he had the best lights or equipment, not because he was the most compelling person, not because he pulled strings or his dad was some super influential person that could like open the doors for him and all these things. He just went after what he was excited about and interested in. And he doesn't do a lot of video, but if he did, that would bring some of the dynamics that we've been talking about before. I know I'm kind of bleeding outside the bounds of the core of our conversation here. I just want to encourage people, like, this isn't about being a movie star or a television star or anything. This is about being yourself and expressing the things that you either are curious about, right? You don't have to have all the answers either. I think a lot of people feel like whether it's writing blogs, publishing to social media, like words like writing up LinkedIn posts, doing videos, hosting a podcast. When I started the Customer Experience podcast, I honestly did not know much, formally speaking, about customer experience. I'm going to be releasing episode 100 soon, which is a fraction of what you've produced so far, but I've surrounded myself with people in sales, marketing, and customer success and some other related disciplines, asked them questions out of sincere curiosity. And now people are coming to me to write articles about customer experience. Like, and it's legit. Like I never went out and said, I'm the customer experience expert. You should, allow me to publish articles. Like it's an iterative process, to use a word you already used before. And so it's this kind of like learning and growth path. And it's totally appropriate for video lends itself very well to it in a variety of ways.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so we've got a lot of people. I know we talked to you about, who my audience kind of is comprised of. We've got a lot of online business owners. The world is trending in the direction of even further promulgating that movement, right?
Yeah.
So my understanding is that, and I think you even clarified that earlier on when we talked about what you could use this. There's an app, you can use it with Gmail, Google Chrome as an extension, what have you. If I have, and I think you said Salesforce, right?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot of people that use ConvertKit, Drip. I mean, there's a lot of different ESPs, right? Email service providers that people utilize. Is this not something that can be readily available to them? Is that something that you guys have in the plans? I know you talked about emails and conversions, stuff like that. So I know you're probably familiar with these tools. Is that something that you guys view to be on the horizon?
Yeah, a couple things. Like if you're doing that now, you could use free services like YouTube or Vimeo. If you want tracking and some of these other tools and have it all to be integrated under one roof, you would use something like a BombBomb or like another video hosting service, potentially Wistia. Like if you didn't want to do the lightweight, casual, conversational stuff, like replying to any email that comes to your Gmail inbox with a video directly in the reply window as we empower. And you want to go beyond like lightweight, recording in Google Chrome, taking the link and dropping it into Slack or dropping it into a LinkedIn message or dropping it into Facebook message because it's so much better than Facebook's recorder. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
We all will give you the HTML code where you can take it and put it into an email in most of these environments and create the playback experience. The one thing that we do somewhat uniquely again is integrate this across, whether it's a pure integration or kind of this kind of, I'm going to take this video out of BombBomb and put it in this email, or I'm going to take the animated GIF and link it over to the video or whatever you want to do. Again, whether it's BombBomb or YouTube or some other platform, I recommend, if you're going to do this a lot, I do recommend a paid service. Yeah. Primarily because you'll have more control over the environment, and they're going to give you probably easier access to analytics. I know YouTube analytics are much better now than they were even 2 or 3 years ago, but you kind of got to dig for them and that type of thing. And you have to mark them as unlisted because it's not for your channel; it's just for this. Or if it's for all these things, if you want to answer your top 5 most frequently asked questions from customers, and you want to have them in a drip sequence that you can send to all new customers or all new prospects. Yep. You want it to be a little YouTube playlist where you can generate some leads and answer people's questions when they're putting them in Google and YouTube. And you want to do a blog series, and you want to embed those YouTube videos in each of the blog posts and cross-link the blog posts. By the way, it's a great thing to do. Yes. Customer questions and prospect questions are the best place to start if you're wondering what kind of content to produce. And, you would use something like a YouTube, I think, to do that. I think, again, if you want to get into doing more videos more often from a variety of environments, I think that's where we would come more into play. But I wouldn't sell BombBomb to someone who specifically wanted to embed videos in a non-integrated CRM, because there are so many other ways to do it.
Okay, cool. That's what I wanted to know, because I can imagine people listening and saying, that'd be cool. I wanted to just send a quick video update to my newsletter and, to my email subscribers and just let them know what's going on this week. So that was kind of, because some of these emails get a little bit, we talked about saturation early, right? Like now everybody sends these lengthy emails talking about what's going on and updates and stuff like that. I'm like, I could see people thinking that they might use this as a strategic advantage over somebody else in their space that's sending emails on a weekly basis.
Yeah. In our web app, you can organize lists of people and segment them and drag and drop call to action buttons and make nice emails and send them. Like that is part of one of our subscriptions. But to your point, I think most of the folks that are listening probably already have some kind of a CRM / marketing automation platform. Right. I will say, if you are using Salesforce, the ability to record and send videos off of a lead or a contact record is pretty sweet, especially in a high value situation, not necessarily like a newsletter type situation.
Sure, right.
And then in the integration, you can decide what analytics you want pushed back into Salesforce so that we're not overcalling your APIs and things. You can say, I want to know these 5 tracking and analytic components and send them back in so that you can write reports. Hey, I want to make a list of people who've been on a demo with one of my salespeople in the past 90 days and has watched at least 2 videos that have been sent out. And you can pull that together and pull that report. And now you have this high target list of opportunities that you should probably reach back out on, for example. Interesting.
Very, very good. I love analyzing data. It just tells you so much, because we make so many decisions that are speculative in the online space. I'm going to scratch that. Any space at this point, there's so much data that you can glean information from to know this is truly working. This is not, this is a good, there's just no reason. I think we stay stuck in a lot of cases because we just analyze the data that's right in front of us. So I'm glad you bring that up strategic wise. Let's talk about, real quick, I want to give you a chance to talk about Rehumanize Your Business is your book. I wanted to talk to you because we've talked a lot about technology and video and stuff like that. Do you think, or do you think it's possible to eventually that we could completely subsidize or synthesize what the one-on-one in-person experience? I kind of know what you're going to say, but what does the book entail, or in terms of what can we be doing to replicate it to the best of our abilities? I do think there's a big problem with rehumanizing your business, specifically online experience. Do you think that we can offset that to some degree with these tools, or kind of what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, two reasons I called it, or we call it, rehumanize. The first is that we've been, up until the past few generations, almost all businesses were done on handshakes, right? Like, I'm going to show up at your door. I'm going to get on an airplane and fly across the country, and we're going to have a steak dinner. We're going to iron out the details, and I've got the contract in my bag here. I'm going to pull it out and we're going to sign it, right? Like, business was much, much, much more personal.
Yes.
Now, there are some advantages to what's happened over the past 20, 30 years, but there are also some disadvantages, especially. So rehumanize is a call back to this idea of having people feel like they know you, creating more personal connection throughout the day, winning on relationship.
Yeah.
If you want to build a long-term relationship rather than just do a transaction, like, I don't need a relationship with any one person at Amazon. Unless my coffee maker shows up broken, right? Yeah. Then I just need a quick transactional exchange. We're like, what's the best way to do it? Even that they've eliminated the human from, unless it's a complicated issue. So not all situations need this, but there's an opportunity to be more effective and more satisfied in our work by restoring the relational component, and video can help us do that. It's you face-to-face at scale. Now, the other dynamic that's more acute here and in a more compact window of rehumanizing is, I think, once these tools, specifically automation, specifically marketing automation, this ability to have things shoot out messages on our behalf and auto reply, and, you know, someone does one action and it triggers 85 other actions, and now they're kind of in the mouse trap and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think because they've become so powerful so quickly, and at the same time become so inexpensive, even someone just getting their business off the ground with very, very little capital can acquire access to very powerful equipment and machines and tools. The problem is, I don't think we really, in our rush to do so, I think we lost sight of the human. I think that's why customer experience is being raised up. And that's one of the reasons I talk so much about how we make people feel. That is the differentiator. That's why someone comes back. That's why someone offers your name instead of saying, no, I don't really know a service that does that, right? Like, so restoring a focus on the individual, relying a little bit less on pure scale, pure automation. I think a lot of people buy solutions to problems they don't actually yet fully have. I think people scale processes that they haven't fully worked out. They don't understand the benefits, the drawbacks. They haven't optimized it. Like, you scale something that you understand. Right. You scale something that you understand the dynamics around. You've turned it from bad to mediocre to good, and now you're scaling good instead of scaling garbage. And I think a lot of people wind up, I'm being a little bit pejorative here, but I think a lot of people scale garbage because it's easy to scale garbage and you feel like, yay, I scaled that.
Totally agree.
I turned it on and now it's like, I'm just shooting messages out and I'm like, things, you know. And
or they use that as a built-in excuse for why they can't grow their business at the moment they're at, because they don't have their tool stack in order. And it's like, you don't need $13,000 worth of tools to get your business growing. Like, even if you're having it, like one of my students had a $50,000 launch this past week. And that's great because she just started her business less than like a year ago. Killer. And she was kind of hating on herself a little bit, but she was like, yeah, you know, I started out collecting payments on Venmo. I'm like, you collected payments. That's all. That's the first basic iteration. Did you get the money? Period. So to validate your point, I see it all the time. People are like, it doesn't have to be sexy when it starts. Just get something off the ground, and whatever you need to make money, do it.
Yeah. So for me, you know, again, I joined the company very, very early. There were fewer than 200 customers. Probably half of them weren't paying us anything because we just wanted users on the platform. We were fewer than 10 team members. And at the point I started thinking about and then starting to outline and then starting to write the book, we had grown to like, I don't know, 30 or 35,000 customers. And I was just like so filled with a blend of pride and joy and excitement about this community we had built that had seen business in a more personal and human way and found success, and, you know, would use words like, this doesn't just get me better results. I'm more satisfied and I'm more excited. I feel more connected to people. People feel more connected to me. It's just this return to a more fulfilled human experience in the context of work through technology and bandwidth that's been available to us for years. And so I thought, like, I want to organize the best stuff. I want to lay this out. I want to make it very approachable. If I can get a mainstream publisher, which we can get into the details of that, although I don't think we have time now, but, if I could do that, then I think this could reach people that we're not currently reaching in our own network, through our own referrals, through our paid ads, through our, organic search results that wind up in our blog or on our website. Like that would give something tangible that more people could approach and understand, something people could refer back to. Of course, there is a digital version, and Steve and I got to read the audiobook ourselves, that's a whole nother story as well. That was quite an exercise, but I knew that this, like the philosophy here, it's a blend of philosophy and practice. It's kind of the what, why, who, when, and how. We call this relationships through video, this kind of like unscripted approach that's not for mass audiences, but for one person or 8 people or 25 people.
Sure.
We call it relationships through video. So we lay that out, and then there's some advanced strategies toward the back couple chapters on how to get better results. So I just felt like this could potentially be a vehicle to reach more people that we're not reaching now. And it turned out to be the case.
Cool. That's awesome, man. I love it. I love the direction. I love the tool. And I'm excited to check out the book. So Rehumanize Your Business is the book. For people that are wanting to go check out BombBomb, guys, it is a tremendous tool. Absolutely try it out. You guys have a trial too, so you can play around with it and stuff like that, which is great, which is, kind of what I used before. Mike actually, you mentioned that Mike actually sent me one, and then I responded for free, and I was like, this is awesome. So definitely check that out. Where are the links that they can go to learn about you, the book, BombBomb, etc.?
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. Again, my name is Ethan Beute. Last name is spelled Beute. I'm Ethan Beute on basically every social network. LinkedIn is a great place to start. And so I welcome any connection. I welcome direct communication. You can email me, Ethan, ETHAN at BombBomb.com. Website, of course, is BombBomb.com. It's the word bomb twice, BOMB.com. You can learn about the book at BombBomb.com/book. Or you can just search Rehumanize Your Business in Amazon. It's got a bright orange cover designed by our designers.
Smart.
And I welcome any feedback on that too.
Excellent. Awesome, man. I enjoyed the conversation. Again, it's a fantastic tool. You guys are doing great work. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I enjoyed it very much. Sorry if I went on some monologues.
No, man, I enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
Like, I love what you're up to. I love the approach.
Cool.
I like the spirit of the community that you've built around this. And awesome. It's just a pleasure to participate.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. All right. Big thanks to Ethan for dropping by the show. In the show notes below, you guys can check out the links that I referenced before to Startup Books. That's our sponsor for today's episode. That's my book club surrounding educating entrepreneurs and giving you actionable takeaways to not only learn, but take your knowledge and turn it into profits. Check that out below. You get a 14-day trial when you use my special link included only below. You won't see that anywhere else on the web. It's a limited time offer. You have, I think, 24 hours to take advantage of that offer once you click the link. Also, make sure you check out the link for BombBomb. If you're interested in using that tool, that link is included below as well. I don't know if they have a trial or not, but let me know if they do. And follow me on social media at HeyCMH, and I will see you guys in the next one.